Several friends have asked me how I track my money every month, and this is how I do it. It only takes me about 20 minutes, so I figured I would share. This replaces my budget completely. I don't do any sort of itemization other than checking for fraud. This is not financial advice, so if the system doesn't work for you, you don't got to use it. My goals are to spend as little time worrying about my money as possible and to have an accurate and fast view of my financial situation once a month. And this is a good system that is easy, fast, and informative. However, it is reactive, so we're not doing any sort of future projections. It's a good system if you're laid back, meaning lazy. You're a natural saver already, or monthly expenses are consistent. Your net worth goes up every single month or most months. You dislike categorizing every single transaction that comes through. And finally, you're looking for a simpler approach to personal finance. However, it's a bad system if number one, you obsess about money. And then in these three scenarios, I think you'd probably benefit from a stricter budget. But if you have a lot of debt, your net worth is not consistently increasing, or you have a tendency to overspend, you probably need a stricter budget than this. The important blind spots that I want to highlight is that there is no monthly income tracking and no monthly spending tracking. So this is assuming that these things are consistent. And then these are the setup steps, which I'll demo the spreadsheet now, but then kind of get back into these in a second. So this is what it looks like. At the beginning of every single month, I create one of these for the last month. So if we were doing January here or February, I would duplicate this, just rename this to February 2026. All I would do then is clear out these values, set the day's date. In this case, if it's February, I would be recording this value on March 2nd. I always pull the values on the 2nd. The reason being is that it takes about a day for example, my mortgage to settle through. So I want to see the values as of the beginning of the month. And then all I would do is record the various values in every account. So it's kind of a pain to log into every single account every month, but I find that helps prevent fraud. And it's also pretty easy if you follow the steps, which I'll show you here in a second. But I would go down the line, and let's just say that this is for the beginning or the month of February. Record all of these values. I would get my subtotal in terms of my assets here. And then I would just do the same thing down here for liabilities. So that's, for me at least, just my mortgage and credit cards. So if you've got any loans or anything like that, you would record those here. And then you can see I've got my subtotal there, and then my total net worth here of $126,000. These are dummy values, but that gives me at a glance my financial situation at the beginning slash end of every single month. Now, these columns up here, these are formulas. These help me see a little bit deeper. You can actually, if you want, delete columns F, G, and H, as well as rows 35, 36, and 37 if you're not interested in that information. For me, because I do own a property, it does help. But what this shows me is my equity in terms of everything that I own versus my liquid assets, which is in my case, everything but my home. So anything that I could sell tomorrow and have cash for, I consider a liquid asset. So you can see in this case, 47% of this person's assets are in that property, and only about 53% is liquid. But that's an important number for me to know at least. So then down here, I just calculate my liquidity ratio, and again, that is just how much of my money is easily accessible as cash. In this case, it's about 53%. And then my debt to equity ratio, what this is it's a comparison of my debt to my equity. In this case, this means that for I have $1.90 of debt for every dollar that I have. And then finally, I have my mortgage payoff percentage here. I just want to see what percentage of my house have I paid off. So in this case, it's 20%, just enough to get your PMI off. So very, very easy to record all of this every single month. As I said, the main chunk of that time is just spent logging in to the accounts and recording. It takes me almost no time at all. And then when I'm done, all I do is I come over to the formula or to the summary tab here, and I plug this number in. You can use a formula if you want. I just usually paste the value in. And then as the months go by, what you can do is graph that, and you can see, is my net worth increasing or decreasing month to month. It's a pretty simple system that has helped me. I've used it since I think 2023, and it's been really the only financial tool that I've employed. So back to these setup steps, I'll include a link to that template in the description. So you'll need to duplicate that template. Then you need to create a list of every account, bank account, student loan account, credit card account, anything that you have where money is going every month, and then create a bookmark for that. So I have a bookmark for all my credit cards, I have a bookmark for all my bank accounts, and a few miscellaneous ones. And then I use a password manager. I use Bitwarden. You can use whatever you want. I would strongly recommend having unique passwords and then just saving them into a password manager. And then, as I've already said, you want to input those values the day after the balance has settled, which is usually the second. And then all you have to do is compare your net worth to the previous month's net worth, and you should be good to go. So a couple of other things I'll just cover real quick. I have a personal preference of a 60% liquidity ratio. I'm pretty young, so a lot of my net worth is tied up in my house, around 40%. But I do like to keep about 2/3 of it liquid. And then I have a 6-month emergency fund at most, just because of my age. If you're younger than me, I'm in my 20s, maybe even like 3 months is fine. If you're much older than me, you want at least a year. And then finally, just a couple of other things that you can do to get a handle on your personal finances is these are some equations you can use if you're curious. So your monthly income minus your change in net worth is going to be your approximate monthly spend. As an example, if I make $4,000 a month and my net worth increases by $500, then I spent around $3,500. If or excuse me, my approximate monthly spend minus my minimum monthly spend is equal to my available potential savings. And then, not to belabor the point, but as an example, if my minimum monthly spend is 2,500, meaning if I spent nothing except my absolute minimum on my rent, my utilities, my car payment, then my available potential savings would be $1,000, and my total possible savings would be $1,500. That's just an example. If you do find yourself needing to optimize a little bit more, and you want to use this system, this is some of the math that you can use to figure out how to do that. But yeah, that's how I manage my finances in 20 minutes a month. I hope this has been useful. There's a couple things I might make another video on. I haven't decided yet. But I do also automate sinking funds for large purchases, and I haven't talked about investment portfolio allocation. Other than that, though, those are two things I don't spend a ton of time on, but I do spend some time on it. That's how I manage my finances. So thanks. See you later.